Welcome to the 10-Minute Life Coaching Program. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne. I train people for improved personal and professional development, offering my assistance to those ready to develop their goals into tangible and focused and, of course, achievable plans of action. And this podcast is one tool I use to complete that mission. And how it works is simple. You just listen, and in 10 minutes, you have a lesson you can take along with you to help improve your personal and professional development life. You can put some of the tools, some of the things we put in this podcast into motion essentially right now, right after you're done listening. And if what you're hearing today sounds so familiar that it's pretty much exactly what you're trying to do right now, but you fear it's not quite working as well as it should be, well, that is your wake-up call that, yes, you're on the right track. You have a good idea going. Just need a little more time and maybe some seasoning, maybe a little help making it work out. I can possibly help you out with that. Check out the website, 10minutelifecoach.com, and find out how we can connect so we can hopefully help things go a little bit better in your journey. Now, we are now officially in the new year based on all the timings of all the podcasts we have recorded in December up into January to get ready for the new year. So I can take a little time off from the podcasting work to take care of, whole family and friends and gathering and whatnot. We are now officially, by my estimation, in 2018 with this podcast. The second week, I believe it should be, if we worked it out right. And that's a great thing for all of us because at this point, a week in or a week out, if you say, of the New Year's Day, we have people who have already given up on the resolutions that they always give every single year, which is why I don't live and die by resolutions. In fact, everyone I talk to and work with, we don't talk resolutions. We talk goals. We talk full plans for the future. We don't talk in the abstract of I resolve to do much better. We put a plan together, we start working on the plan, and if the plan doesn't work, then we adjust the plan. And this is where we'll tackle that today. Today, I'm going to give you a quick iteration of my goal-setting general planner. It's a real down and dirty, quick and simple thing to do, and it does work off essentially the SMART goals idea, which is basically sort of overused in the world of professional development, but it's still very solid, still works. In fact, it's based on what we're going to do today. We're just sort of skipping a lot of the steps and assuming you have an idea what's going on. Now, for those of you who've never heard this term before, then you're in for a treat because it's a very great way to set your goals up. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. The goals you should set should fit all 5 of those criteria. And the mnemonic SMART helps you remember it should be specific, something that can actually point to being done, measurable, something you can actually look point by point, bit by bit, and see that you're moving towards it, attainable, something that you can actually hold in your hand or you can actually get, realistic, something that you can actually do, and timely. You should be able to put a time limit or some sort of clock onto it to see how well you're going as you're measuring it to see how great your goals are going. And once you have that down packed, that's sort of the background of figuring out how your goals should go. But how do you actually set the goals? How do you get your goals going in action? This is very simple. You don't need a lot of technology. You just basically need a sheet of paper or a page open on your computer or a page open, an app on your phone that you can use to hold in information that you can take notes on. And you just get started. It takes a little time, a couple days to actually go through the whole thing because you want to make sure you're taking time to go through the right goals and really thinking about what you're doing. It's just a few steps. You start off with that sheet of paper, that blank sheet of paper, or that blank page of pixels, if you will, that you're looking at. And you just literally start writing down every single thing you think you might want to do in a certain period of time. Now, this is the first month of the year, so you can do it as a yearly goal thing if you want to. But basically, anytime you've got a goal or time to do goals or goals in mind, you set a timeline for when you want to see something get better and go with that. For this exercise today, you might as well just say, what would I like to do this year? And it could be as abstract as you can think of it, or it can be as concrete as you want to. If you really, really, really want to take some lessons to learn piano or guitar, something I've been saying I wanted to do for a while, you put that on the list. That's not going on my list this year, and I'll explain to you in a bit how that works out. If you want to make more time for spending activities with your family, you put that on the list. If you want to make more time to make more money, you put that on the list. If you want to learn something particular, you put it down. You want to get into some other sort of group, you want to put that down. Any single thing you can absolutely dream of, no matter how crazy or insane it is, as long as it's something that you actually think you really want and you can probably actually get a hold of it, you put it down on the list. You're going to give yourself plenty of time to work on this list, at least a full day to open up and write on the list, maybe a couple days, maybe a week if you want to. But essentially, you're going to take some time to work on your list, and anytime something comes up as you wander away from it, you can come back to your list and add it to that list. Once you're done, once you completed the list, once you're at some point where your time is up to add things to the list, you cannot add anything to the list. But the hard part is you've got to wait a full day before you can go back to the list. So you've put down a lot of things on this piece of paper, and you've got just some things just look really crazy, really insane. But you cannot touch the list for 24 hours. You got to back away and come back again when you've gotten the high of all the dreams and thoughts out on paper, so you can actually have some sort of hopefully, sometimes it's still a little out there when you think you're working out what you can work on, but some hopefully solid ideas on what you can actually work on. So you've written out your plan. We say a day. You took a day to write things down here or there. You've taken a day away from the sheet of paper, from the file on your computer, to not deal with it. And so now it is a day later. You open up the file, you open up a sheet of paper, you look at it, and you go through every single thing on the list. You just go down 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down. You can number them if you want to, but that's not really that important at this point in time. But you're going to go through and look at every single thing on the list, and you're going to make a note of what's there. And then you're going to go through the list one more time and think about whether you actually want to do that thing that's on the list, whether it's something you actually desire to try to do, or if it's something that people just say you kind of should do, or maybe you think you should do, but it's something you really know you don't have the capacity to do in the near term, something you know you're not going to want to up and do every single day to work on in the next week, because we're talking about getting started on this goal pretty quickly. So you go to the list and eliminate everything that you do not want to do actually, because you put a lot of hopes and dreams on this thing, but you may not have the time to put in for piano lessons, or it doesn't really matter to you at this point. Like I said, I've wanted to learn how to play an instrument for a while. I don't have the time for it, don't have the real inclination for it. I will probably add it to the list once my daughter's old enough to start taking some lessons, and I'll take lessons with her. But at the moment, I ain't got the time, so I'm not going to fool with it. Now, after you've eliminated a lot of things that you don't really want to do, you have to get a calendar. You have to get a calendar and look at the amount of time you actually have to devote to things. You take a calendar, you look at what your schedule is, and you plot out the open times that you have, the amount of open spots in your day you have, and how much extra time you have, because that is what we're looking for. You're looking for the extra time you have to fill in with the goals you're working on. Now that you know how much time you actually have to work on things and a list of things that you think you'd like to work on, you look at that schedule of time and you look at that list that you have and you figure out what things on that list you can do in the holes of time you have. Going back to the piano lessons, if the teacher you have available is open in the afternoons and you don't have afternoons open, you can't really effectively get lessons from that person. So that's a goal that you're not going to be able to work on in the near term. Maybe sometime later your afternoons will open up and then bam, it's a new place to put a new goal, but we're not there yet. You look at the time that you have available, look at the goals you have right now, right here, what you really think you want to do, and you go through and you try to overlap what can fit in those times. And then after you have an idea of how much time you have an idea how much things that are going to take to get to where you want to, and which one of these things that you have you can actually do, you pick 3. You pick 3. And from that 3, you're actually only working on 1. So technically you're picking 1 thing to work on plus 2 backup things to work on just in case you have extra time or time allots. And your goal is to work on 1 thing at a time, maybe a couple of things they pop up. And once you get proficient in that one goal, you go back to that list, or you make a brand new list, you go back to your calendar, or you make a brand new calendar, you reshuffle the deck, and you see how much time you have open, what's left on your things to work on, your goals list, and you do the same thing. So very quickly, you take a list of what you think you might want to do. Everything you could dream of goes on the list. You take a day away from the list and come back, and then you start eliminating things you don't really want to do. From there, you take a calendar and you find out how much actual time you have open and available on your schedule. You take the open time, you compare it with the goals and lists that you have that you can actually do in that amount of time, in the time slots available, and then you pick one with maybe two side ones so that you're only focusing on, at best, 3 goals at a time. You should be just stuck on one at a time. And then you just work on that goal until you get better. And then once you're proficient, you reshuffle and do it again. Pretty simple, huh? Do you think you can actually do it? It's something I've been working on for a while, so I can't say I've quite mastered it myself, but it is the framework for all the goal setting I do. I don't add any new tasks, any brand new tasks, unless I see I have time for it. And when I want to give something up, I usually have something ready to take over that time. That's basically my Achilles heel, is knowing when to have actual free time that stays free. But it does help me keep an eye on all the things I really think I want to do, all the side things I want to slide in later when I have the time and inclination, and how much actual time I have to get things done. I challenge you to try this, and if it works, let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. I will adjust and rework it based on what you guys say, and hopefully you can adjust and rework your goals and your plans and have a prosperous and great year upcoming based on what I just said. And thank you for listening to this week's podcast. Of course, this one actually went longer than expected, longer than the normal 10 minutes of content. So actually, for those who actually listen to the podcast on a normal basis, the first minute is the intro. So there's technically only 9 minutes of actual content in most of the podcasts. We're usually done right at the 10-minute mark or earlier. This week, we got to about 11:30 or so in the actual time. So it's closer to a 10-minute podcast in this day and that effort. But hopefully the lesson is something that you can take away and start working on right now. This is something that I don't say I developed it like it came from the sky and just I had this vision, but it's something I've been working on for years. And about 2.5 years ago, when I was creating a goal plan for radio to produce for a radio morning show that I was doing, it turned into this plan. And with a few little tweaks here or there, I've been doing this anytime I want to work on some new projects. So every time I have a brand new project in my mind, I have to compare it to the list of things I already have on a list. Sometimes it just goes onto that list. Sometimes it goes into quick production based on what I'm doing right now, and I pull something off the board and put that in place. So I know it can work. I know it's a pretty easy to function, easy to work out process if you have issues with goal settings. There are some that are much more intense and some that are much more technical. This one is simple. This one is easy. This one doesn't take a lot of time, and it doesn't take a lot of fancy stuff. You just need to make a list of things that you probably can get done. Look at how much actual time you have. That's the real key to this. How much time do you actually have to get these things done, and figure out the most important things to do in that probably very limited amount of time you have. Now, to keep this from going too long, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. If you're looking for more help with your thing, I am available. Check out the website, 10minutelifecoach.com, and you can see how to get in contact with me. If you want to just send me an email directly, send it to J. Cleveland Payne, J, the letter J, Cleveland like the city, and Payne, @gmail.com. Or you can stop by my website, jclevelandpayne.net, for other projects that may also help you as well, and we can figure it out from there. I am not so much always available. Like I said, I have limited time as well, but I'm always looking out to meet new people and reach out and connect with folks and learn things from every single interaction I have. Despite being an extreme introvert and sometimes not wanting to talk to people for weeks at a time, I actually enjoy conversations and enjoy learning about people and having two ways back and forth so that they can get something from me. And sometimes it's a forced conversation, to be honest, but sometimes getting out there and going back and forth, great things can happen for both of us. I always learn from every single person I interact with, and hopefully they all learn something from me. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. Happy New Year. Hopefully you had a pretty good 2017, and you're on the path for an even greater 2018. If you want some help, like we said, contact me. We'll see what we can do to make sure things are going on the up and up. And, of course, be here next time for another episode of this podcast, the 10-Minute Life Coach Podcast.